hits the turf. Maxx Crosby, one of the hometown favorites.
Maxx Crosby, the man, the myth, the legend. Hey, a lot of pressure. I just talked to you and other the team.
At first, it's the hardest thing is just walking in the door, accepting that you got a problem. For me, coming off my rookie year, it felt like nothing could go wrong for me. From the outside, everything looked
like you got it together. Like, oh,
Max figured it out. He's got life under control. But inside, bro, I was dying, bro. I was lost.
This year, though, was your, hey, how you doing? My name is Maxx Crosby. I'm beast. That was what this year was for you. What do you think it was? Was it getting smarter, getting in better shape? Did you kind of get caught up in the game? What was it you think that kind of, where you decided, hey, I can be an absolute beast in this game if I get focused? Did that happen, and is that where you ended up where you're at now?
Yeah, it honestly, it started from the first time I started partying. I knew I kind of wasn't like everybody else. I couldn't just have one drink and be cool. It was always kind of a crutch for me, so I feel like it was something that was holding me back. I finally, looked myself in the mirror, and I always knew deep down I could be a great player if I put everything into it. It came down to, after I got my year sober, I kind of wanted to just be vocal about it.
I carry that shit on my sleeve. I talk about it because it's like somebody else is gonna need it. Because like right now, someone's going through the same shit I went through. At the end of the day, bro, if you admit the shit, that's what's being a man, bro.
Everyone has supported me for who I am. At the end of the day, they know I'm not the straight edge perfect kid, but know that I have a big heart and I'm going to put everything I have out on the field. Maxx Crosby, defensive end for the Las Vegas Raiders. Too often we see the sad stories of professional athletes unable to conquer their demons and eventually spiraling out of control. These stars will get suspended or a career-altering injury, and all of a sudden, all the potential that they once had will go down the drain. However, for an NFL player who has recently signed a life-changing contract extension that could set up his family for the rest of their lives, he was able to not only become a Pro Bowl edge rusher, but recover from an addiction to alcohol, something that had plagued him since he was a teenager. And once sober, he became a Pro Bowler and is now showing to others that temptations can be overcome, even while playing in Sin City. This is the incredible rise of the Las Vegas Raiders defensive end, Maxx Crosby. Break! Maxx Crosby grew up in the football motherland. He attended Colleyville Heritage High School in Texas, located about a half hour from Dallas, where he first played as a linebacker. However, he wasn't a standout football jock from the start.
At that time, I was really growing into my body. I was a late bloomer, so I was kind of figuring out, what I wanted to do, how I'm gonna grow into my body. I really didn't know. I was slower. I couldn't, I was growing so fast that I didn't have any twitch and anything like that at that point. So it was I didn't know what my future was gonna look like. And being in that environment, everybody played football and I loved it, but I wasn't the player I wanted to be yet, but it took time and I just kept working at it.
In high school, he was voted the best musician as he was a member of a rap group that he had with his friends. College football wasn't really on his radar, although his older brother Miles Crosby had signed to play safety at South Methodist University, and Max was probably a little bit more talented than he was. In one instance, Miles brought some of his teammates back to Colleyville, and the area high school kids challenged the college athletes to a pickup football game. However, the SMU players didn't have a quarterback, so Max offered to play signal caller. Max is just special, Miles told The Athletic. He played QB, and you would not be able to tell that wasn't his position. Playing with these older kids against guys who were being recruited, he is the most pure athlete I've ever been around. Miles ended up taking a different career path than football and is now a successful model with the Ford agency.
Modeling was, I got very lucky opportunity. I was able to help my parents out huge. I told my mom I hate modeling, I hate taking pictures. I just so happened to get so lucky.
Maxx, on the other hand, was the life of a party with a self-described wild heart, and as a teenager he liked to entertain, drive fast, and started to get into drinking alcohol.
You know, I've been a person who loves to fucking party, and I was that kind of guy in college and growing up, so for me, shit, it was kind of an issue for me, but I just was able to get through and shit like that. But
in between Maxx Crosby's junior and senior seasons, a physical change led to a position change and ultimately growth on the field. Going into my senior year, we got a brand new coaching staff, so we had new coaches come in. I had a big growth spurt and I grew like 3 inches, so I was almost 6'5". Clearly, I wasn't going to play middle linebacker anymore, so they wanted me to play defensive end and tight end, and they moved me right away, and I haven't looked back since. Having more size helped me out, let me grow into my body, and I figured out that defensive end was the best position for me. Crosby was at spring ball down in Texas before his senior season when an Eastern Michigan coach who was doing some Texas recruiting approached him and invited him to a summer camp which would take place in Michigan. It was easy for Crosby to say yes, as he had a lot of family and friends in Michigan. Plus, he hadn't had an offer to show off his football skills to any other collegiate programs. Back in Texas for his senior season, he had improved and all of a sudden was getting into opponents' backfields and pressuring the quarterback, making tackles and serving as a solid defensive end. Many Power 5 conference schools came and went in their visits to Colleyville, yet not one of them showed interest in Crosby. Eastern Michigan, though, was a football program that was laughable by Texas standards, and they had offered him a scholarship immediately following the summer prospect camp. So Crosby would travel over 1,000 miles north to pursue football. Eastern Michigan, though, was a place that had a sense of familiarity as his family had moved from Michigan to Texas when Maxx was in 6th grade. Eastern Michigan was one of the worst teams in the FBS. The season before Crosby arrived, they notched only 2 wins and just had 6 winning seasons in the last 40 years. Crosby redshirted his freshman season mostly because he showed up that fall at only 212 pounds, down from his 255-pound high school playing weight. The Eagles only had 1 win during that 2015 season, but had an eager new head coach that was determined to advance the program out of the gutter and at the same time bulk Maxx Crosby up. In 2016, with the 6'5", 265-pound Crosby now out on the field in an Eastern Michigan uniform, the Eagles had their first winning record in 11 years, going 7-6 and receiving a bowl berth. Although he didn't start at defensive end, he often played behind a future NFL player and intelligently observed. Pat O'Connor was one of the starting ends in the Eastern Michigan team that season and following his senior season, and he ended up being selected by the Lions in the 7th round in the 2017 NFL Draft.
Don't know him much.
No, I knew it was coming.
I realized that he could potentially be of Irish descent.
What leads you to believe that?
Although Maxx Crosby saw limited time in 2016, he recorded 35 tackles and 1.5 sacks. The next season, for the first time in Crosby's life, playing professional football started to become more of a reality than a fantasy. I've always dreamed about playing in the NFL. It's been a dream of mine since I was a child. Honestly, it became a lot more realistic my redshirt sophomore year. Going into that year, I knew I was going to be a starter and was super excited for that challenge. We had Pat O'Connor the year before and he went to the NFL, and it was my time to step up and take his spot.
People started reaching out to me, talking about me more, and I was like, this is like getting real. And I knew deep down, like with my work ethic and the way I play the game, I feel like it translated to the NFL, and I believe that since day one, and it's been paying off.
From then on, Maxx Crosby would use his dip and swim skills, and in 2017 and 2018 had 18.5 sacks, 127 tackles, over 35 for a loss, and forced 8 fumbles. He was named All-MAC, and Eastern Michigan again qualified for a bowl game. Yet, Crosby, especially during the cold Eastern Michigan winters, was drinking a lot, and it almost cost him his college football and future pro career. Following one night out before his junior season, Crosby's drinking got him into a mess and almost costed him his season. Party got busted, I left and crashed my car and ended up getting suspended.
And for me, I was just lost, bro, and I needed to get back on track. And for me, I knew this is the one thing that's always been a crutch. Like even in college, like I got a DUI in college. I got in trouble. I tried to get sober, but I wasn't working any program.
His suspension handed down from Eastern Michigan coach Chris Crichton and was supposed to be for several games. With the dream of the NFL still in his mind, Maxx begged for a lesser punishment as the second game was against Purdue, which if he performed well against their Power 5 conference offense, it could bolster his draft stock. The coach agreed to only suspend Crosby for one game. We had a lot of talks, went back and forth, and came up with a game plan. I had to do a lot of things in the community. I had to stay sober. That was part of it, and I did it. I ended up getting to play in that game, got a big sack, and we ended up beating Purdue at their place. It was a big win for our school.
I'm going into my last year. I'm like, listen, coach, I can't be out 2 games. Like my second game, we're playing Purdue. It's a Big Ten game for Eastern. Like that's huge. I need the ball out. I need to be on the field. This is like huge. I knew I was going to the league that year, so I was like, coach, I'll fucking do anything. Like you got to get me. I'll do community service, do whatever you need to do. So he's like, give me a couple weeks.
Crosby stayed sober enough for the rest of his time in Eastern Michigan, and 2 days following the Eagles' loss to Georgia Southern in the Crampton Bowl, Maxx Crosby announced that he would declare for the NFL draft. Crosby would once again pack up his belongings and travel across the country. This time, his destination would be Phoenix, Arizona, where he would complete his combine and pro day training at the X's facility. His hard work paid off with Crosby turning heads with a 4.66 40-yard dash, a 36-inch vertical, and the fastest 60-yard shuttle out of all edge rushers. At the combine, the NFL front office and coaches also grilled him about the alcohol-related incident during college, with many hesitant to take a chance on a player from a non-top 5 conference program. Then, that April, in the 4th round of the 2019 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders selected Maxx Crosby. They had faith that his college troubles stemmed from immaturities and that he could be a valuable addition to the Raiders' strengthening defense.
Yeah, is Max there?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Max, this is John Gruden with the Oakland Raiders. How's it going?
It's going great, Coach.
Hey, I got to get after Mahomes, man. We got to get after Phillip Rivers, man. This is a tough division. Are you that guy number 92 that's raising hell?
Yes, sir. I'm ready. Yes,
will you come out? Hey, will you come out here?
Yes, sir. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm your guy. I promise.
All right, great. I'm expecting you to come in here and lead the league in effort, brother.
In week 1, he made 6 tackles and continued to have a solid rookie season. What everyone didn't know was that after practices, games, and especially on off days, Crosby was dependent on alcohol to the point that he was regularly drinking to the point of getting beyond drunk. He recalled getting lost in the sauce his rookie season with the Raiders.
Yeah, well, for me, coming off my rookie year, it felt like nothing could go wrong for me. It just like, I got lost in the sauce a little bit. From the outside, everything looked fucking
like you got it together. Like, Max life is fucking awesome.
He figured it out. He's got life under control. But inside, bro, I was dying, bro. I was lost.
Although he was battling alcoholism, he was still very productive on the NFL field, earning AFC Defensive Player of the Week honors in a 4-sack game in Week 11 against the Bengals. It was the most sacks by a Raider since 2015. Maxx Crosby from the outside looked to be an elite professional athlete who was easily able to take down opposing quarterbacks, but he had his own demons that he would soon have to tackle. I knew deep down I had a problem from the day I started drinking in high school. I couldn't drink without throwing up. That was the reality of it. I knew I couldn't handle it. In regards to his first-year success in the league, he said, after my rookie season, it was great. You've got money now. You've got opportunities to do whatever you want, basically. You don't have supervision. So for me, I was just partying too much, and it became unsustainable.
Yeah, at that time, I was just living the fast life and trying to have as much fun as possible. And I was new, and I, new to everything, and I had money for the first time in my life. And, it was just, it just got worse and worse, as time went on. And it basically got to a point where I had to make a decision. It was, my life became unmanageable. And, I had to look myself in the mirror. And it was honestly the best decision I ever made,
Then, as the world started to shut down due to COVID-19, Maxx Crosby would make a life-changing decision. On March 11th, 2020, he admitted himself to Grace Recovery Center in Los Angeles for alcohol abuse. I knew from the day that I started drinking that I wasn't like everybody else. I couldn't just have one drink, and it was always a crutch for me. Through high school, through college, and even when I got to the pros at first, I always knew I had a problem. But it got to a point where it started becoming unmanageable and things just got overwhelming for me. It was over the top, and I knew if I wanted to be the player that I wanted to be and the person that I wanted to be, it was something that I had to cut out of my life.
When I first started drinking, I knew I was a little bit different than everybody. I couldn't handle it the same. So yeah, you know, it just got progressively worse as time went on. So once it got to that point where I just looked myself in the mirror, I was like, what am I doing? You know, I'm in the NFL, I got a lot of things going for me, and it was the one crutch I've always had. So it got to a point where it was just unmanageable. So, you know, I had to make a change.
So for 4 months during the NFL offseason, Crosby spent the time first at the Grace Recovery Center and then in Venice at a sober living facility where he worked on saving his life and ensuring that he would have a sustainable NFL career. In July 2020, he moved back to Las Vegas, ready for training camp and most importantly, sober. Now, all eyes were on Maxx Crosby.
If I just come in, do my thing every day, do what I've done all of college, come in, outwork people, and just make plays. That's all I got to do. And for me, my mindset never changed. And going into my second year, it was like, okay, now it's flipped. Like now, okay, boom, you had 10 sacks as a rookie. Now everyone knows who you are. You're gonna get more attention, more expectations. You know, it's just a lot that goes with it.
Crosby wasn't the only one drinking club soda at dinners or attending AA meetings from the Raiders locker room. There was also a teammate that Crosby could lean on who also had recently recovered from alcohol and drug abuse. Raiders defender Darren Waller had shared about his recovery even before Crosby had admitted that he too had a problem. At first, Crosby listened, but only from afar. Soon though, Waller and him would attend rehab meetings together every Tuesday night. We were always cool, but we weren't really close before I got sober. But just seeing him, I knew I could get sober, and I never thought that would happen, to be honest. I was just in a bad space. But seeing him gave me hope. When I first got sober, I was like, shit, if Darren can overcome what he did, I can do it. I can dedicate myself like he did. I'm about to be a 1.5 years sober, but it's still an everyday process. I am focused on the now, and having guys like Darren around me is so special to have in that locker room. Sober and ready to become a NFL star, Crosby had some setbacks during the 2020 NFL season, but not related to his sobriety. First, a couple of days after reporting to training camp, a positive COVID test meant that he had to quarantine for 10 days, and he was supposed to not work out either. It was a true test of his character, and he got creative in ways of doing football drills without exerting himself. Then, during his first sober season that he could remember since being a teenager, he injured his hand, which required surgery, and then suffered from a torn labrum, which was another surgery, but surprisingly, he did not miss a game. During the 2020 season, he had 7 sacks, but he looked forward to the 2021 NFL season and made training to be the best edge in the game his #1 mission. During the entire offseason, he did not miss a day at the Las Vegas Raiders training facility, and oftentimes he was the first one to arrive in the early mornings and the last one to leave at night. Often before and after even the coaching staff. The coaches noticed this too. The hard work and commitment to staying on track paid off as Maxx Crosby was named one of the Raiders captains for the 2021 to 2022 NFL season. He was like, bro, I've never been a captain at any level. Derek Carr looked at him like, what? He was like, dude, this means so much to me. I was like, Max, you've proved it on and off the field every day. Everyone knows his story off the field and what he's been able to accomplish in his personal life and on the field. We've seen what he's accomplished this offseason. No one has worked harder than that guy. In the weight room, even on days when we're not lifting, our strength coach has to tell him, we're not lifting today, go rest. He has just taken his game and leadership to such a high level. Man, I'd follow that guy anywhere. He inspires me. Crosby was in the best shape that he has ever been in, looking muscular and lean, and he would soon show the NFL what he was all about. With 56 tackles, 8 sacks, 30 QB hits, and leading the league with 92 pressures, Crosby was ranked as Pro Football Focus's second best edge defender in the league. Crosby would also get named to his first Pro Bowl.
I was in rehab like almost 2 years ago, and now I'm in a Pro Bowl. Like, everybody around me is calling, blowing up my phone. I'm like crying like a baby because I just know I've worked so hard, and it's starting to pay off.
In the Pro Bowl, he earned defensive MVP honors while playing in his home arena of Allegiant Stadium, with 5 total tackles, 3 pass deflections, 3 tackles for a loss, and 2 sacks. After the season, he was named a second-team All-Pro and to the Pro Football Writers Association All-AFC team as well. Then perhaps the best reward for focusing on himself was given to Maxx Crosby, who was going into his 4th season in the league. He was already one of the greatest to play defense for the Raiders. His 25 sacks are tied for the 4th most in franchise history for a player in his first 3 seasons, and he is one of 11 players in the league with at least 7 sacks in each of the past 3 years. So on the 2-year anniversary of his sobriety on March 11th, the Las Vegas Raiders extended Crosby 4 years with a contract of $95 million and $53 million guaranteed.
It's a blessing. You can't make it up, man. It's just, a lot of people have been asking, like, did you plan to do that? And I'm like, nah, like, it just happened. It was the universe. It was supposed to happen. It's just, it's a major blessing. There's no other place I'd rather be. I want to be a Raider for life. I got it tatted on me before I ever made a play or anything. So, I kind of, I feel like I showed the fan base that, I was serious about them, and I'm going to continue to do that every single day and, show up and be, the hardest worker in the building and lead by example.
Yet, the big contract is not the ultimate goal for Maxx Crosby.
As far as goals and things like that with Pro Bowl and all that, like I want to be a Hall of Famer. You don't get to the Hall of Fame with 1 Pro Bowl and 1 All-Pro. I want to keep doing it and keep getting better. 2 years ago, I was in a very bad place. Physically, I wasn't in a good place. And I really had to reevaluate everything I had going on. So the main thing, one of the main things of, AA and the 12 steps is not looking too far in the future, not looking too far in the past, worried about the 24 hours and taking it one day at a time. And a lot of people think, it's cliche and corny, and I always am talking about it. I'm always saying one day at a time, and because it's only 2 years. I got so many years ahead of me, not only in the league, but as a human being. So I just want to continue, to get better as a man and as a player every single day.